Hi guys, welcome to another XsvGamer review, my series of thoughts of current and maybe not so current games because some oldies are worth looking back to. If you're hoping for an overall score, a number or anything that remotely depicts any form of scaling system whereby you get to gauge the worthiness of the material, well, this isn't the place to get it, but what you'll certainly get is my most honest opinion on what I think works and doesn't work in any given title. So if you like what you see, or dislike it so much that you can't stop watching, then why not subscribe? With all those formalities out of the way, let's get going. It's a rare occasion where I feel the urge to share my thoughts on a game with such passion and longing, and I think it will be difficult to put my thoughts into a short video since my reviews generally don't exceed 6 minutes. It is also without a doubt that I've come very late to the party, but I felt the need to express my thoughts on what has undoubtedly become one of the most controversial games in history after just about my third playthrough. I have to start by saying though that Naughty Dog is my favourite game developer, mostly due to the incredible Uncharted franchise, and I have, like many of you, grown really seriously attached to Ellie and Joel, and therefore I was quite torn apart with the hefty choices Naughty Dog made when writing this particular storyline. But first things first. The Last of Us 2 has portrayed unbelievable realism, accurately representing a harsh living world. They have actually gone above and beyond my expectations of what greatness looks like in this current gen. They have once again set the standard for realism, for story, despite its controversy, sound and character development. There are so many moments that are jaw-breaking in this game, particularly the guitar scene in Seattle, a basement scene where they indulged in some funky grass, and with a little bit of extra added heat for good measure, and the huge game-changing scene which had everybody up in arms. Let's just say it is impossible to pick one. But going back to the original Last of Us where Ellie was trying to learn to whistle, and the fact that Naughty Dog knew that even this minute and probably inconsequential moment to the player could develop an immense bond between the character and end user. The Last of Us 2, Naughty Dog kept using this tried and tested system to try to win you over with a more believable, more mature and yet a lot more violent Ellie, now burdened with rage and a longing desire for vengeance. Then there is also Abby, who is also dealing with her own demons, and undoubtedly this is the most controversial move ever by the developers in letting us be a part of her story too. Some say they were pushing a political agenda or whatnot. I'm not getting into politics though, but personally I think we have to applaud their bravery because they are currently one of the only devs out there that are willing to take huge risks to tell their story. And that is exactly what we get. Their story told their way, the way they intended it to be. This is seriously lacking in the industry today, especially due to too much emphasis in the media right now with what is political correctness. That, personally for me, is utter crap, especially in this form of media. There is a vast improvement in the AI in general. Friendly AI no longer gets in the way and actually lends a great hand. Enemies will use their surroundings much more effectively and now flank you every chance they get, which makes for very intense and anxiety-inducing gunfights. Then there are dogs, the bane of my Last of Us 2 gameplay. Not only are they difficult to handle if they get a scent of you, but let's face it, no one really wants to kill a dog. Even more so when a dog has a name. The enemies have a bond now. They know each other's names, they scream when you kill their friends. It's a lot to take in. It adds to the realism and depth of each encounter by giving life a little more meaning than in the original. I would have liked to see an enemy type animal infected with cordyceps, which I thought was hinted during their first teaser but wasn't to be. Instead, we were treated to a couple of new types of infected which were definitely welcomed. But maybe not so much during the encounters, especially traversing the skyscraper section. I was very happy at that point to have the flamethrower in my possession. Suffice to say, on the harder difficulties you will have to think quick and be willing to change your approach several times during a single encounter. Every encounter is extremely tense, and so the quieter, more exploratory sections between them seem much more welcomed. I understand the way the story panned out. Agreed that it was extremely controversial. I understand what Naughty Dog were going with, the entire plot being based on revenge, and for the player controlling Ellie, the strongest feeling of revenge would obviously be through the loss of someone she deeply cared for, and in turn, us, as players, cared for too. I think for the finale, Naughty Dog should have allowed us to choose between following through in the acts, letting Ellie exact her revenge on the entire reasoning behind the game, or alternatively, not. And instead, choose with a huge emphasis on choose to walk away and let bygones be bygones. Ellie and Abby have caused each other a lot of grief, and this would inevitably end up with more heartache down the line. Irrespective, leaving the choice to the player is something that Naughty Dog should have envisaged. It should have been very clear to them during the writing that the fall of a huge character that instigated this whole storyline was already difficult enough for most players to handle, let alone the choiceless act at the very end, which left most of us completely winded. The least Naughty Dog could have done was to give us a choice of whether to follow through or not. It's obvious this was never meant to feel fun. This game was meant to feel like real pain, like anger and hate feels in the real world. Perhaps more in line with the movie. I came into this knowing that I was in for a hell of a ride, not a fun and happy-go-lucky experience, but instead something intense and desperate and real. I just knew Naughty Dog wouldn't hold anything back. I will never forget the heartache, the trauma and all the great memories the Last of Us franchise has to this day ingrained into my life. The story they have told us is nothing short of remarkable. Whether you like the outcome or not, if you've played the game from beginning to end, you have to admit it was an extremely powerful experience you will never forget. For that, I consider this my game of the year and possibly my game of the generation. That's it from me, guys. Please remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. If you ain't playing rock hard, then you ain't playing at all. I'm XsvGamer. Thanks for watching. Until next time.